Samson Oil Gas is a small operator in the Williston Basin. We have around 850 barrels of production, about 95% operated. In April of 2020, so pretty recent, is when I took over and was appointed CEO. And coming in as CEO, I had a philosophy that I wanted to implement and incorporate. And that philosophy was very much data-driven. And several changes would have to be made. And one of the key changes would be for software, which kind of brings me to here. So a lot of Excel worksheets, a lot of, taking the data from the various software products we had, which none of them would work together. And we'd have to dump it into Excel, build pivot tables, create other types of analysis, create our own charts. Just very difficult.
Double checking reports, double checking everything.
And it was across the board. Production, everything was stored in paper, so we had no digital copies of anything. All of our well files were sitting on shelves in folders, big bulky folders.
I love those folders.
With CDs, and our computers don't have CD-ROMs anymore. So it was a challenge. It was very hard to get data, get it efficiently, and then be able to manipulate that data and get it into a format where it was, we were able to analyze it. When I took over, the philosophy was find one software provider that can provide a solution for each of the components of an E&P company. So something we can use for operations, for production, for accounting, and then convert all of our paper files into electronic files, and so that we have a software solution so that we can access everything digitally. Like previously we had, I think 6 different vendors on 6 different. So if there was a problem, it was like, what was that contact? Who's got the contact for this company? Who's got the contact? Whereas if you have it underneath one umbrella, I email one person and say, hey, I have a question on here, and I get an answer. Whether it's, production, operations, accounting,
you're doing
the data storage. I got one number, a couple of different email contacts. There's a help desk, and I just shoot an email off and get a response right away. Yeah. So one of our previous software packages had us upgrade, and it was before I came in, so the upgrade had already happened. And the upgrade was to their cloud version. Except that the first time I traveled out of town and I needed to access data, I had no way to get it. And so I called and I said, I thought this was cloud-based. I'm on my laptop, which was not my work laptop. It was just a personal laptop.
Exactly.
Because I was traveling for personal reasons.
Shouldn't matter.
Yeah. And they said, well, you got to have the software loaded on your system to be able to get access to it. But then you also have to have a VPN back to your office that hooks into your computer so that you can get to your server so that you can get to the cloud. And I thought, well, this isn't the cloud.
It's not true cloud.
It's like, we're storing our data on your server and you're calling it cloud.
Exactly.
So that didn't, so that was pretty, it was very frustrating. And that was the first, few months of my tenure when I came in. And I travel quite a bit, and we're out in the field and, seeing the other vendors and, going around the country looking at different assets. And that became a kind of a sticking point. And at that point, I was like, I need to find a true cloud solution. Unparalleled. That's always a problem in software companies. The software is great, but the service isn't so great. The service is great, but the software is not that great. It's a perfect marriage here. And most relationships with vendors, a vendor relationship, and the invoice comes in, you pay it. And with Quorum, because of all of the things you're doing and all of the input that you require, I feel like it's more of a partnership than it is, a vendor and a customer. I have a direct line with several of the Quorum folks. I've spoken with developers. If there's, things such as, I'd like to be able to type in more than 50 characters. I've, been able to say, hey, can you expand this to, 200 characters? And, Quorum takes that to heart and then immediately starts to work on that. There's other items that, in running reports, maybe if we could see it, a different way, or maybe there's an ad or ease of flow through the different processes depending on what the software is. The developers take that to heart. Spoke originally, we had to export everything into Excel, and you can't run as a company unless you have budgets, forecasts, and then you got to be able to do look backs and compare and see if you're on track or not on track. So when you're trying to export data and then you're trying to match that up with a budget or a forecast that's in Excel, and this is in Excel, then it's not efficient. It takes time. You got to wait. And we've been able to work with the Quorum team, particularly on the production side. We will implement it on the accounting side, but we've been able to build custom reports that have a forecast so that we just log in, we run the report, and we have the forecast against the actuals, and we can see what the delta is, and we can run it by field, company-wide, at the well level. We can group different fields, we can group different wells. It's the flexibility and the speed at which you can get data, analyze it, and then your ability to export it and send it out to your financial sponsor or your board of directors,
right,
or just internally to your
whoever
staff.
needs to see it.
That's right. And we now have different reports depending on which level, more high level for the board, but we also have reports that our pumper group and our operators
For sure.
can
So you
see.
can segment them kind of.
And then that pulls them into the company and adds value, and then they can see that what they're doing creates value, and they are really part of this company through Quorum, and because they have iPads in their truck. We can communicate with them real time. We can see the data real time, and they can pull the same reports that the board, like the chairman of the board, the same report he pulls, our pumper can pull.
Oh, that's
so
awesome.
that they feel, they are part of the company,
Right,
and they're a valuable part of the company. 2 months ago, we were at $50 oil. Today, we're at $68 oil.
Right.
I'm in town at the Capitol conference that was yesterday, and the outlook for oil and gas is very bullish. I think there's a lot of hesitation, and we don't believe that oil's going to stay at 68. It's at 68, but it still feels like we're
Right,
at 50.
right.
There's a lot of excitement. We've seen some transactions this year that have closed. I think the philosophy of management teams, it used to be a blank check given to a management team, now go find an asset and
Right,
buy it, and then let's drill everything up and increase reserves. I think we are going to get away from that and go back to a cash is king type of a model.
Yep.
Where we need to have data, analyze the data, focus on the operations, focus on your producing assets, while also giving attention to the future with your PUD development and exploration of your undeveloped acreage. So it'll be an interesting year to see where prices go, to see where the capital comes from.
Right.
There's a lot of banks that have exited the space, and finding money is difficult.
Right.
The proven management teams are still able to access capital. New companies such as ourselves and new management teams such as ourselves, we have to be a bit more creative, and we're going to have to do a sales job to go attract that money. And Quorum is a perfect example of how that's going to help us get capital, because we can walk into a potential financial sponsor into their office with a laptop,
Yep.
open up, turn it on, log into Zoom, and start pulling up
What you need.
whatever data they want.
Right.
You want to see our production, you want to see the trends, you want to see a budget to actual, you want to see the accounting and LOS. It's real time, and it's not canned. We pull it up. We don't have to create presentations and reports. We just pull up the software.
Right.
And with Power BI and the work that you guys are doing on that, we're going to start incorporating that, and then we can make dashboards, and then we can pull in data from all the different databases so that you have really just a one-stop shop, and you can see a snapshot of your company
Everything you need.
every day in real time.